Thirds of one of England's most successful rock bands. They have just released an album called Night Train. Tom Chaplin and Richard Hughes from Keane, welcome to the Top 20 Countdown.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So I want to talk about your new album, which I heard an interesting story. You guys were on the road supporting Perfect Symmetry, and then to avoid monotony and boredom, you guys found a way to write and record this album. Is touring really that boring? I need to hear more about this.
Well, it can be a bit strange, you know, aside from like the hour and a half that you get to play most nights, the rest of the time you are kind of treading water and sitting in hotel. I mean, just falling into those terrible cliches of like sitting in hotel rooms and living out of a suitcase, you know, and I think we just felt we wanted to do something that was creative.
Well, the Ramones say touring is never boring, so I wonder what they're doing. Tell me physically, how did you record while you were playing and being, spending the nights on trains? Like logistically, how'd you even get that done?
There was one point where Tim was in the lounge, the back of the bus, with a blanket over his head, trying to sing a vocal demo thing, trying not to wake us up because other people were asleep on the bus. So it was kind of from the sublime to the ridiculous.
Yeah.
Very polite and resourceful, I guess he is.
Exactly.
Now, I'm really excited at two of the songs on the album. You worked with the very innovative and talented rapper Keane on. He's such a gem. You know, why did you decide to work with him? I know you had mentioned somewhere it really helped expand your sound or influence your sound.
We just absolutely love his music, you know, that's the main reason. And also the fact that he wanted to work with us was pretty exciting. He's a really big Keane fan, so when we phoned him up and hooked it up, we had a couple of songs that we wanted to take in that direction, but we were nervous what he would say, whether he'd be interested. Turned out he was a massive fan and came to work with us in London, and it really was a great match. We seemed to get on really well musically and as people.
What was it about, his sound or what he sort of brought to Keane that you think, that worked out so successfully?
Well, I mean, he's incredibly artistic. He's a poet. He's just very soulful, and a lot of his stuff is not just rapping but singing, and he's at the musical end of that world, definitely, and it just seemed like a really good fit.
He always says he doesn't like to be perceived as being kind of a hip-hop artist. He doesn't like those kind of genres being put on him, so I think it's a sort of broad musical style. It really helped with this collaboration.
Yeah, first and foremost, I think he's a poet. I mean, he's just such a talented lyricist and so melodic. So actually, we're going to check out the first video. Features Keane on right now. It's called Stop for a Minute. Let's take a look. And this video. I'm here chatting with Tom and Richard from Keane. So we were talking about your collaboration with Keane, but recently you were in the studio with Kanye, and you guys were playing music for him, and he was playing for music for you guys. So you worked on some material together, right?
We did. It's not really come to fruition, but it was really exciting to kind of start that process because we're massive fans of him, and it turns out he's a massive fan of Keane. It was a very strange experience. We were on tour, and we were traveling through Europe, and we got to Paris, and we got this call. It's Kanye on the phone. Do you want to come and hook up? And we went to the studio, and he just finished his last record, and he played it full volume and danced around and sang to every single song.
Of course he did.
Voice. You think, why don't we have that kind of extrovert quality to it?
I think maybe only Kanye does. He might be the only one.
Super passionate.
Yeah, he's passionate.
Yeah.
He's passionate. So what does the music sound like? What can we expect?
Well, it's something that needs a bit more work. We had a few hours with him. We had to get back to England, and he was going off to his next show. But we started something, and we hope we'll get a chance. He's a busy guy. We're quite busy. It's next time we get a chance, we'll maybe finish it.
So we're not sure when we can hear anything. No. It's going to be a minute. All right. Well, tell me about this summer. I know you guys are playing a bunch of different festivals and some really cool venues, right? Tell me more about that.
Yeah, we did a big arena tour in the UK last year, and we just felt we couldn't really justify doing that again this year. So we wanted to find a kind of really interesting setting to play the songs off this new EP and give people a good show. So, UK used to be completely covered in these beautiful forests, and now there are just kind of little tiny bits of it left that haven't been chopped down yet. So these lovely old forests, and the clearings in a lot of them, so they set up these venues and you get to travel around from forest to forest. So that'll be our kind of weird and wonderful forest tour. And then we're coming over to the States in July and August.
A forest tour. That's pretty magical. It's very enchanted. Yeah. Now, you guys started really as a three-piece piano-based band. And we talked about it. I feel like you guys have evolved. There's additional instrumentation now. So has the live performance, has the live show changed at all as well? How has that affected the live show?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of variety over the course of our 3.5 albums, and that makes it more and more fun to play, because the more songs you throw in, the more different styles there are. Tom is a pretty awesome guitarist these days.
He's all right.
Yeah. So, and we have our friend Jesse comes and plays bass, and it's a proper rock show. It's not the sort of piano rock light that it sort of sounds like. There's definitely some rock there.
Yeah, we started with just being piano, voice and drums, and it's kind of expanded into this thing where we're all using all of our limbs all at the same time to play as many instruments as we possibly can.
I love it. I'm going to be right back on Tom&Rich in a little bit, but right now at number 15, here's Jason Derulo with In My Head. My guests are Tom and Richard from Keane. So you guys have known each other since you were kids, right? Literally for about 20 plus years?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, some embarrassing memories there.
Okay, first of all, I need to hear about some of those. But do you guys ever get on each other's nerves? Like, what's the dynamic like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's like a family, it's like a family with a lot of boys, young boys. And
it's like a sitcom really, isn't it?
Yeah, we make up jokes. We still use jokes that are probably 2 decades old.
Right.
Tom got the lyrics wrong to a Beatles song once, and it must have been when we were about 14, and he still maintains that he got it right, and he didn't. They were wrong. Yeah.
And you bring it up every day, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know how to annoy each other. That's the thing.
I was going to say.
You've got the good side, which is knowing what the signs are when someone's angry, but then you've got the bad side, because you know they're angry, and you know how to make it worse.
You know how to push the buttons,
so,
of course.
Yeah.
And Tom, I read somewhere that you've literally been playing music since you were about 4, and you had this Casio that you wrote some songs on. I need to hear more about that.
It was a little white keyboard, and it made lots of absurd sounds, and even more absurd was my sort of singing and songwriting aged 4.
Yeah,
I've got tapes of it. It's
what
hilarious.
were you writing about at age 4? I'd like to know.
There was a song called "I Am So Cool."
Yeah,
that he
the
wrote.
best song I ever wrote.
Really? That's actually impressive for a 4-year-old.
He went, "I am so cool, do 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 do," and it just repeated over and over again. Minimalistic, you'd call it.
Right.
Yeah, it's very craft work.
And have you heard these recordings, Richard?
Electropop.
I've never heard that one.
No, that's never seen the light of day, and I intend for it never to see.
Okay.
I think it should be our next B-side.
I agree. I'm with you on that. Now, what about you, Richard? When did you start getting into music? Was it as early as 4, or was that just Tom?
I don't know. We went to the same school, and I remember being sort of, 7 or 8, and becoming friends with Tim, and hearing, Simon and Garfunkel and the Beatles records and Stones records that our parents would play when we were in the car, going off to play soccer or whatever. And so I guess around then, and we just got there's that moment in your life where suddenly music exists, and everything gets a bit more colourful.
As a drummer, you sort of always wanted just to hit things, I suppose.
Yeah, I did. I always used to listen to the drums. It was cool.
You came out of the womb drumming. Keane's new album is Night Train, and they'll be touring the U.S. later this summer. Guys, thank you so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. Congratulations on the new album.
Thank you.
I'll be catching you this summer when you guys are back in the States. At number 14 on the countdown, here's Timbaland and Katy Perry.